Stephen Kinnock. We can't hear you, Stephen.
I'm ready to play.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I unmuted myself there then. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Mr. Gove, and thanks also to our colleagues. The government's own reasonable worst case scenario, which was published back in September, said that 40 to 70% of trucks travelling to the EU would not be ready for new border controls, and that this would lead to queues of up to 7,000 port-bound trucks in Kent and associated delays of up to 2 days. Is that still the government's reasonable worst case scenario? So we're going to have 7,000 trucks laid up in Kent for delays of up to 2 days. Has anything changed since September to change that reasonable worst case scenario?
Things have changed since September to make it more confident that that won't be the case, but a reasonable worst case scenario is always there to help with planning. And the whole point about it is that it's certainly within the bounds of possibility. It's certainly therefore something which a prudent government would take into account when planning. That's why we've acquired the infrastructure that we have. But without, again, wanting to jinx the future, we're a little bit more optimistic than we were 2 or 3 months ago about the likelihood of avoiding the reasonable worst case scenario.
So let's assume then 7,000 trucks in Kent and delays of up to 2 days. What sort of message do you think that sends to businesses in other countries that are potentially thinking of investing in the UK, that our television screens are going to be filled with queues of trucks laid up in lorry parks for 2 days?
Well, it is the case that we've seen disruption to traffic in Kent before, sometimes as a result of industrial action, sometimes as a result of other events. I think that business people will be well used to the idea that when you have a new state of affairs, there are always a couple of days or a couple of weeks before we reach the new normal. And I think that the fundamental decisions that people will make on investment in the UK will depend on the regulatory, the taxation framework, investment in infrastructure and investment in skills. My judgment is that business people, while of course conscious of news and political events, make their judgments on investment on the basis of sound long-term trends.
Thanks very much. And just to clarify there, you think this issue with the 7,000 trucks and the 1 or 2 days, that will only last for a few days in January, or is it going to go well into 2021? Are we looking for this scenario to be alleviated by the summer? How long will this be going on for?
Well, again, and it's an understandable take on things, it is not a prediction. We plan for the worst so that we can be ready to deal with it, but the projections in a reasonable worst case scenario are not the main case. They're not the base case which we expect to happen. Again, it's very, very difficult to make accurate predictions, as we know, when there are so many variables. But I think I've said in another forum that I would expect that we would find that after an initial few days and weeks of potential disruption, that things will resolve themselves into a new normal relatively early in the new year. Because again, the risk of the disruption that you quite rightly draw attention to flows from businesses, traders and hauliers not having the necessary documentation. And we and members of this committee have played a part in this, have sought to make sure that traders are ready so that the risk of disruption is reduced.
With permission, may I just add also to say, of course, that for those traders who are not ready on the 1st of January, there will, of course, be much support from government helplines, webinars. We'll continue running those to make sure that those traders can get ready as quickly as possible so that before they attempt to send goods across the channel, they are ready. Because, of course, it is the level of trader readiness which ultimately determines whether and for how long disruption might continue. If I may say one other thing, I think the committee will know that we've introduced a web service called Check an HGV is ready to cross the border. This is mandatory for hauliers who are taking goods across the short straits to use, what they do is they use the service to certify that the correct documentation is in place, and that issues with them with a Kent access permit. We had committed to sending that service live this Monday. We did that. It is operational, it is working, and indeed haulage firms are already using it to get their Kent access permits. And what we hope that will do is make sure that a lot higher percentage of trucks that arrive at the ports in Kent are ready and can make therefore a successful crossing, thereby avoiding that disruption.
Thanks very much. I'd like to change by quite some degree now to talk about Erasmus.
It'll have to be the final question, sorry, Stephen. So
thank you very much. Yeah, I was quite surprised to hear you say, Mr. Gove, at the start that in response to the chair, that Erasmus is covered under these negotiations. You gave the clear impression that it's all sorted, and therefore we would be able to continue to participate in a programme that I think most people feel adds a tremendous amount of value and benefit, both in terms of British students going out and learning new skills and languages, and also EU students coming here and getting a great impression of our university system and of our society, and it really enhances our soft power. So I think most people feel that it's a good thing, and yet Michel Barnier made it absolutely clear to MEPs on Monday that the United Kingdom will be ejected from the Erasmus programme. Can you just confirm that that is the case, that we will not be participating in Erasmus?
Nothing is agreed until everything is agreed, and we are considering which EU programmes we should be part of in the future. And again, I think when we're looking at both Erasmus and Horizon, there are different judgments about their value to the UK, but we're looking at those in the round as part of the discussion.